Dude, I didn't even know about putting it in your ass, dude. Somebody told me about it like fucking 3 months ago. It swims up to the dildo that I have in my pants. Welcome to the Mouthpiece, episode 11, part 2, with our awesome interview with Real Kid Poker, Daniel Negreanu. So tune in for part 2 here on the Mouthpiece. Welcome to the Mouthpiece, episode 11, part 2. What'd y'all think of part 1? I hope you enjoyed it, because what a great interview we have with Daniel. Whatever you didn't hear yesterday, it gets twice as good today. So I hope you're all looking forward to that. I hope you enjoyed part 1. We are now on Thursday, and today is the start of the World Series for me. I'll be playing the 1500 Omaha 8 or better today at 3 o'clock. And hopefully I knock that one right out of the building to start. Anytime it's Omaha 8 or better, I like my chances. I think I've made 17 Omaha 8 or better tables since 1997. And that's at 4 a year. And they didn't have PLO 8 until about 2007. To give you an idea of how I've done Omaha 8. No matter what anyone says, people have big egos, but I know tournament, live, shorthanded, head up, I will take myself in Omaha 8 over anybody on the planet. That's not a challenge to anybody. Once I get money, it's a challenge to anybody. But since I don't have that much right now, I can't bet with money I don't have. I used to do that many years ago. Not a smart thing to do. So that is my tournament today, and that's it. So in case you haven't bought a piece of me at the World Series this year, I'm selling 50% of myself in the 10Ks. I think the 1500 packages are sold out. There's still some 3Ks, 2500s, 5Ks. So check them out at ustake.com. And here we go. Part 2 of a great interview with that Real Kid Poker, Daniel Negreanu. I hope you enjoy.
The Mouthpiece.
If you'd like to take part in our phone call segment, you can give us a call at 702-329-0480. And if you're a snowflake or a pussy and you don't want to talk to me, you can email me at mouthpiecepodcast@gmail.com. Also, follow me at the Mouth Matiso on Twitter for times that our call-in segment will be live. World Series Week, Part 2, here on the Mouthpiece. Let's hear what our call-ins have to say today. Welcome to the Mouthpiece. This is Mike Matiso. What's going on?
Hey, Mike.
What's going on, my man?
So tell me how lucky you had to get to beat Matt Ashton heads up for a bracelet 2013. You mentioned that a few times on here.
Oh, when I beat Matthew, I didn't have to get lucky. He made the cardinal, the big... By the way, he is a fantastic poker player, one of the best in the world. But he made the cardinal rule mistake you can't make when you have 90% of the chips, and that's when you raise with a 10 up and the small card protects and hits a wheel card, you gotta fucking give it up. Or if you call on 4th and the guy hits perfect on 5, you gotta fold. You can't be giving him like the big bet that he basically gave me a free double up, and then the next hand I made a ace high flush and a 6 low, and the rest was history. But if he never gives me more than the 50,000 original bet, I never get any chips to hurt him. You know what I'm saying? So that was that was his mistake. And trust me, I guarantee you he's thought about that hand many times. But And the funny thing is after I got him crippled and down to 2 big bets, it took me 20 minutes to get his 2 big bets because I was never giving him more than the ante ever. So that's what happened there. It was one of my best wins ever.
How do we get more mixed games on TV or in the local casinos here?
Well, we're working on
No Limit
on Poker Go. They get like a mixed game. They play the 1-2000 game once or twice a month on Poker. Do you have Poker Go?
Of course.
Yeah, of course. I haven't watched it in a while, but I know they were playing it for a while. I watched the Deuce to 7 game. It was so boring. I couldn't watch it anymore. But
so how do we get sometimes Deuce to 7 is boring, sometimes Raz is boring.
Right.
We want people to start playing, $100, $300, little mixed tournaments on these limit where they go to the casinos and play 10 no limit tournaments.
Dude,
how do we make these more exciting?
I don't know, man. We're pushing mixed games. People are bored of no limit. They see all the top players in the 10K mixed, and the fields are growing. People are getting. It takes as well as I do. It's hard to master all the games. And now there's so many new games. Even I'm only average at some of the games where I used to be like top 5 in every game. So it's all right. They're fun. I love it. Anyways, I got some more calls I got to answer. And thank you so much. And give us a call anytime, all right?
Cool. We'll love the podcast. Thanks a lot for doing this. It's been a blast to listen to. Keep it up.
Thank you, buddy. Take you. Bye.
Sure. Bye.
Welcome to the Mouthpiece. This is Mike Matiso.
This is Jesse Martin.
Man, Jesse. What's going on, buddy? How's it going?
I was just going to ask. I've been listening to all the podcasts and a lot of good stories on everything, but I kind of wanted to, get into a little, quick, nothing big, quick strategy with you. You haven't really given the listeners any Omaha It or Better tips yet. So
yeah.
I was just wondering, post-flop Omaha It or Better, what's the first thing that comes to mind when someone asks you for tips or advice or something like that?
Well, you mean like post-flop? Okay.
Post-flop. Everyone kind of has their theories and a way to play pre-flop, but post-flop is kind of obviously where the game is.
This is really, absolutely, this is what I go by. You're going to have your aggressive players to play a lot of hands, right? And then you're going to have most of the people that won't ever enter a pot without an ace, which is probably 80%? Unless it's like late position.
Might be a little high, but yeah, I know what you're saying. People who are going to play very premium hands.
They're going to raise, like if somebody raises under the gun, they got aces or 1, 2, 4. You know what I'm saying? And if somebody calls a raise on the button, that they probably got like ace 3, 5, ace whatever. The key in Omaha is locating the aces is the most important thing. So look, let's just say it goes raise under the gun, call by a tight player in a 2-hole, call by a medium tight player on the button. I can't tell you how many times I'm in the small blind in a tournament that I 3-bet it with the 3-9 Jack Queen double suited or some fucking garbage hands because all the low cards are out, that it has to come high. Then all of a sudden comes like I nail the flop, I bet out, they think I got like ace deuce, they try and steal it from me and raise it, and I just bury them in a pot. But also, especially late in the tournament, I'll fold the 1, 2, 3 if it goes raise under the gun by a solid player, called in like the 3-hole by a real solid player. Ace deuce 3 9s in the muck 100 out of 100 times. You're never getting more than a quarter, and people don't realize like ace deuce 3 rag, you have to flop gin on the wheel card end. Like if you have ace deuce 3 queen, ace deuce 3 10 jack, you can go both ways. You know what I'm saying? A 9's just an 8 and a 9 are just awful cards, and with 2 people already in, there's just small cards are out, and you're always playing for a quarter. So it's all about recognizing. You can really get an idea of what cards are out. You know what I mean?
So the 9 in that scenario, you're saying, makes all the difference. If the hand's ace deuce 3 queen or ace deuce 3 king, now you're
if the ace is suited, I got ace deuce 3 queen or ace deuce 3 king. Now, if it goes raise call, I'm still going to 3-bet it with the king. With the queen, if it's double suited, I might, and the other way, I might just call. But you don't really want to let the blinds in either because you've already got a raise and a call. And there's a good chance you could catch a queen or a king and win a big pot, because they don't have those cards. So I could talk to you some more about it off the line.
No, that's cool. That's good stuff. I knew that your audience wanted to hear a little of that, so I figured I'd. Just since I've been listening, and I'm like, hey, Mike throw some strategy in there, so I figured I'd get a little out of you.
All right, Jesse. I'll see you Thursday, man. Take care.
All right.
Take care. Give that baby a big hug and a kiss. Take care.
I will.
All right, bye-bye. Yo, welcome to the Mouthpiece. This is Mike Matusow. What's going on?
I'm calling you from Miami, Florida. I play poker as a hobby.
What's your name?
I'm a fan of yours.
What's your name?
My name's James.
Nice to meet you, buddy.
Nice to meet you, sir. I'm James Long. I've followed you for at least the last 20 years of your playing. I'm a fan of yours. I play poker as a hobby. I would like to play more, but unfortunately, you can't do it when you can't do it. But I saw the message before, and I wanted to call him. So I wish you well. I hope you do good in the main event, and God bless you and your family. And I wish you all the luck in the world, Mike.
Man, thank you so much, man. That means a lot to me. And it's the healthiest I've been in 4 years. I'm feeling good, and I think this is my year. So I appreciate your call. I appreciate your support. It means a lot to me, and hopefully I take down one.
I think you're due. I think you're overdue. I just want to tell you that my favorite, and you know him very well. Phil Hellmuth is one of my fans too. I'm a big fan of his. Mm-hmm. When I see you guys at the table, that's just right there. All I want to do is just stay tuned when you guys play. When you guys were in the National Heads Up Final like 12 years ago, that made my day.
2013. It wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
Well, okay, 6 years ago.
6 years ago, but I remember watching it. To this day, I'm like, God, that's a classic right there. If that could only happen in the main event, that'd be fantastic, Mike.
No shit. I agree. Well, man, thank you for the call. I appreciate it. Tell all your friends about the Mouthpiece podcast. We're working hard.
Not a problem.
We're trying to make it fun for everybody, and I hope you enjoy it.
No, thank you, Mike. I'll call again. So God bless you and take care. Thank you very much.
Take care, buddy. Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
The Mouthpiece.
This is Matt Savage, founder of the TVA, and you're listening to The Mouthpiece.
I'm not going to say anything more political than this. I was too stupid to understand that, you like this guy, I like this guy, okay, and I just thought it was fun because Matt Glantz is like, tell Daniel to stop with the Hitler shit. He's crazy. And so I was just like, really? He's saying all, I'm like, so then I got into it with you. I had no idea of Trump's history with the birther thing. I had no idea. I just know that I took a 20 questionnaire and Trump came up as my candidate. So I said, okay. And I was in bed. I was bedridden. And I'm thinking, all right, okay, so that's the candidate I'll pull for. I had no, and see, that's another thing. Dude, there's going to be another bloodbath in 18 months. It's going to divide the country. And one thing I could say about you and me, we might be opposites on things, but we want the best for people. We care about people. We want to see people get equal chance at the American dream. You know what I'm saying? It's just we go about it different ways. That's the only thing. We want to love everyone. We want there to be no wars. You know what I'm saying? We have all that in common.
Well, obviously you're right. Like when it comes to politics, when you have two groups, it's tribal, right?
Very.
So one group of people is, being fed information from typically their own circles,
right.
And then other people are in their circle, and that's why when they discuss things, it sounds like you're talking to an alien because
right.
You're getting it. It's like one person is telling you 2 + 2 is 5, and the other one comes like, "Oh, are you crazy? 2 + 2 is 7."
Exactly.
It's 7. And then you look at the person and you go, "How did you get 5? It's 7." And then you end up getting to a place, unfortunately, with the way that just sort of the rhetoric, and I was
right.
in it as well in the last one, and I actually don't think this is going to be as bad as the last one. I don't. I think
I hope not.
I don't think it'll be good, but I still think at this point, I don't think it's going to be as heated as the last one was.
I just had no idea.
Because of the contestants that were involved.
Right.
They were so polarizing on both sides. So you had Trump, which is a polarizing figure. You had Hillary Clinton, who's a polarizing figure. I think in this case, people have made up their decision on Trump, whether they like him or not.
Right.
I don't think that's going to change in the next year. And then whoever the candidate is, there's nobody running that's going to be more polarizing than Hillary Clinton was.
Right.
So I just think it'll be a lot less fight. I also think there's exhaustion on both sides, where people are just exhausted by the daily cycle.
Right.
And a lot of people I know have completely shut out watching any of it and like reading about it and just kind of like they want to live a life. And I get it. Listen, a lot of people who followed me or you on Twitter, they follow us for, they want to hear about what's going on in our poker games and other things. Like they don't need to hear every one of our opinions on every single bit of legislation.
100%
like we're not politicians, and we are entitled to our opinion. And when you feel strongly about something, you absolutely should speak out. You shouldn't feel like you shouldn't. It's just like ultimately, after seeing years of it, it's like for the most part, it really just doesn't go anywhere. Like having these Twitter debates for days with people, just back and forth. Like one person's dug in, the other person's dug in. Like, what are you wasting time for?
I look back at 2016. I didn't know shit about politics. I just, like I said, I got this thing. It said Trump was my candidate. So I had no fucking clue that when Matt Glantz said to me, tell fucking Daniel to stop with his Hitler shit, and he's going crazy. Now I know when I was like 18, they used to say, don't discuss politics or religion. And of course, I never understood it because I didn't know nothing about politics. Like, in 2016, I was 70% right. Now I'm where most people are. Like I'm 5 degrees like right of center, where most people are 5 degrees right or 5 degrees left. Which is why I have no clue why the Democrats are running like these crazy left policies when they can never win a major election. That's why Biden, I guess, has it locked up. I don't know.
Well, who knows? I mean, there's a lot of time till then, but obviously the Democratic Party is split, and we know that. Bottom line is, like, we can get lost sometimes in not realizing, like, everything you put on the internet in the Twitter world or whatever stays there, And it's kind of like...
I've learned that now.
We just live in a world that is much more hypersensitive to everything, and it sucks, because I come
But
from
don't you feel
like
that's one of the biggest problems is this PC culture? I mean...
Well, hold on. When you say biggest problems, I'm going to say, listen... I'm going to say it's definitely a different world. I'm not as comfortable with, like, Jerry Seinfeld, Chris Rock, and all these guys. They won't go on college campuses anymore because their jokes are considered too offensive. And it's like, well, a joke by nature is supposed to be offensive. I mean, the fun that I find. I believe in celebrating. Like, I believe in celebrating our differences and joking about them. And, like, if people heard me and Phil Ivey on the golf course together, like, both of us would be reprimanded.
Of course.
For, like, all the cracker jokes he sends me and, what I order for him after 9 holes. It's like we laugh about it. Like we come from that environment. And today, I think kids are being trained negatively in a sense of like they're looking for reasons to be offended by things that aren't even really all that related to them. Like it's not even about them. And I get that. You want to be empathetic to the struggles of what people are going through. But if those people themselves are not bothered by it, it's kind of odd that you would be. Like I found that like there was, a couple things that that I've done or whatever said in the past that were obviously controversial or whatever, and the group that was supposedly like marginalized or whatever, they laughed.
Yeah, of course.
The people that were like attacking me were typically like young white kids, right? And I was like, this was like me sort of celebrating, like my friends that I grew up with and things like that, but like, and none of them were offended, and I didn't really get much sense from the people that were supposedly the ones that are supposed to be offended. But yeah, so. As far as your question is like PC, I do think we're at a place that's a sort of a critical stage because we're getting to the point now where Doyle tweeted something and he got called sexist for this.
Yeah,
so he was wishing me and Amanda, he wished me and Amanda well. He said, I'll repeat it for those that didn't. He said like, I've been married 59 years. And he's like, I'll give you one piece of advice. If you see a wall that's black and she says it's white,
it's white.
You just say,
right.
Yeah, well, he's like, oh, you're right. He's like, oh, yeah, I just thought it was black. It's a joke, right? It's a joke.
Right.
It's just a joke. It's fun-loving. It's not, attacking people. Yeah. But then we got people responding saying it's sexist because it's stereotyping women as being crazy or stupid, right? And I think when we start to – here's the problem with what they do. when they start to have fights like that, it actually denigrates and hurts the real fights. You know what real fights look like?
Yeah.
There's definitely profiling in terms of like police brutality in a lot of cases. There's real struggles that minorities face, or
Absolutely.
women face in terms of equal rights and in terms of like fair pay.
Right.
But when you focus on these microaggressions, if you will,
yes,
what happens is everybody stops listening to everything else you've got to say.
You're right.
It's just like, oh brother, are you serious right now? Like I can't even tell an innocent joke like that.
You're so right. And, I told people, I said, comedians should be, they could say any gay joke, any N-word. They're comedians. They're just, that's what they do. They make people laugh. And, like even though I disagree politically with Bill Maher, I watch his show every Friday. And he even says, he's like, the PC culture's destroying the Democrats. And, I agree. People were trying to like call you out, and I'll never forget the party we went to when you dressed up as the Jamaican guy and we had all that fun, and they were like, oh, look at Daniel wearing blackface. I'm just like, give me a fucking break, man. That's like, Daniel's like the least fucking racist person in the world.
I'll tell you what people don't like, and I talked about this in a blog and whatever, and it's obviously come up a couple times, is like, think about it. I'm like 30 years old or so when it happened. I was married to a Korean woman, right? And I'm going to do this skit, and she decides, she's going to cover my face and like, to make me in the Jamaican costume, all full.
Right.
I grew up with my best friends all being Jamaican. I grew up idolizing Bob Marley. Like I love this culture. When I was at a party when I was like 11 or 12 years old, I think, I was at a party with like 70 black people. I was the only white kid. The girls, to make me feel comfortable, thought it would be funny to paint my face black, and then I danced and I rapped and I did reggae and all that stuff with them. So like I grew up in an environment where like, there was no sort of connotation, which I understand now, the American history of when, what would happen was white people would steal jobs that could potentially be going to blacks in film by wearing a blackface, right? So I would never want in any way, shape, or form to denigrate people or to, to cause any pain like that. All I was doing was like fun loving. So to be characterized for something like that as though, you're racist or anything along those lines, it's like, it's so backwards.
It is.
Because it's quite the opposite. It's actually me admiring and showing love for a culture
I
agree
100%.
Adore, and so, I obviously know now, like I would never do that again, right? But for people to think that I had malicious intent and I had videographers and my wife and everybody doing it with me, that I was like actually trying to have some sort of negative stereotype of people, it's just kind of surprising, right? Like, and like I said, I didn't grow up in America, so I grew up with mostly Jamaican people. That wasn't an issue in the culture that. But
even in the 80s, it wasn't an issue. It's like I never did it.
Oh,
but
no, it was.
People
I believe
used
it was. Like now that I've done a lot of research on it,
Really?
like it's always been a thing. Like, but you know what? The way that I always thought of blackface is like in the movie Bamboozled, where people do the big red lips and then they do like they sort of characterize and make fun of. I was actually like trying to do like an authentic, Jamaican costume with dreadlocks, hair,
fucking hilarious.
and then like the Bob Marley skin tone, which she went darker than I would have liked, as it turns out. But, maybe in hindsight it was a bad idea. But like none of us in the moment were like, oh, watch this, we're gonna totally like smash on people. Like obviously, like how crazy do people think I am that I would openly do something that would be considered like, violent, like evil or racist or anything like that. Like, why would I ever do that? Like, do they really think that me doing that means that I have any lesser opinion of another race? It's like people looking to be outraged when there's really nothing here. Like, yes, that happened. And by the way, it was 13 years ago, ages ago, and people bringing it up now to say like, look at this guy.
Look what they're doing with some of these young kids that get drafted, and are like they see their tweets from when they were like 15 or 16, and they're like, and they try and hold it against them and destroy them. And it just seems like our news on both sides. It's like, what can we do to destroy somebody?
It happened to Kevin Hart recently when Kevin Hart was supposed to host the.
Yes, I had his back big time too. It was disgusting.
And he used to tell jokes when jokes. Maybe they were really inappropriate or whatever in today's standards, but they were related to, to homosexuality or something like that. And like, people dug him up, these old tweets, and,
and
he apologized for it.
He had already apologized like 6 years before that or whatever. And they literally tried to take his career down.
Here's the biggest thing here's the biggest thing we're going to agree on, okay? Mm-hmm. And I've had this discussion with a lot of people that are very progressive and left, and, you know, policy-wise, we're very aligned with my views for the most part, but not, I would say 50-50. What they don't understand is you want progress, right? But you have to have patience and respect for those that are not as involved as you on this issue. So, for example, when a 65-year-old man from Texas, he's a dealer at the World Series, right? Old guy, grew up, he sits at the table, and he says, well, hey there, Maria. Why aren't you looking pretty today, honey? Right? He is not in any way, shape, or form trying to hurt her. He is not doing anything in his mind to demean her. It may be seen as something we don't do now. You know, you don't say things like honey to a girl or whatever like that. But this guy doesn't know that. So maybe the way to approach it is be kind to this man who is trying to do a nice gesture. Say to him, listen, you know what? Just so you know, like, it makes me feel a little uncomfortable, and I think a lot of women when you use the term honey. So if you could just, you know, be mindful of that in the future. Unless you handle it that way and instead grab pitchforks and then look at this guy and say, you're a misogynist, racist, pig, piece of shit, whatever, like that. It's like, holy shit. Yeah. All he said was, you know, you look nice today, honey. Right. Relax. Like, they have to stop. The starting point of attack is not the right starting point. If they genuinely want progress, then they have to start from educating people on these issues, right? Educating people on, like, why that's offensive. Like, the guy might be like, well, what's wrong with that? You know, he might not know. You know, he might need an explanation to it. If you really want progress, the answer isn't to just, you know, villainize all older people from previous generations who spoke with a different tone and used different language that is not as updated as yours. Like, if you want progress, educate before you demonize.
What you just said is something that I want you to relate with what I'm about to tell you. So my dad was really sick in the hospital the last 4 months. He's home now. He's doing really good. But we almost lost him. And when he was in rehab, we were having a pretty deep discussion. And he's like, you know, this nurse, black nurse, black lady, she's so nice. And he's almost in tears. He goes, I just can't believe, like, growing up, we thought less of black. This lady's so nice. I can't believe I ever thought the way I did. In other words, you know, when he's 90 years old, so when he's growing up, this is before, you know, when they still had segregation, and for him to say that with tears in his eye, that's progress. You see what I'm saying? That's progress.
Right. So that's progress. So, look, the issue is, I think what a lot of progressives do is they focus on language and words rather than action. So let me ask you this question. You tell me which one of these guys is, like, the worst criminal, okay? Person one is a guy who has never used a racial slur in his entire life, a white guy, right? Never said the N-word, never said anything like that. But his business, he won't hire any black people, okay? Doesn't say anything bad, but he won't hire black people. Okay. This other guy, he's used the term in jokes and different things occasionally here and there, but he works in the inner city and he hires, like, a wide variety of people, right? Which one in this case? Like, if you had to pick, I mean, obviously,
I want number two. I'd rather have number two, a guy who doesn't discriminate.
Right. So in one case, we're focusing on language, right? And if you focus on language, okay, well, the person who's never used a slur, great. But when it comes to systematic racism, this person here who's not hiring black people is contributing far more so to the negative progress of minorities. Right. The other guy, you know, jokes and different things, like working with blacks and whatever, like, you know, and employing them and hiring them, like, his language may not be appropriate, and it never was, but his actions and how he treats these people and what he's willing to do with these people, to me, speak far louder than the words. And I think, like I said, the mistake that a lot of super progressives make is they're demonizing people based on language rather than action.
This is incredible. Like, what you are saying right now is exactly where I feel. It's like, forget if you hate Trump, he could be the scummiest human. You probably hate him more than any human. I don't like him that much either. But forget that. Let's just throw that out for a second and just say words or actions. The things that comes out of his mouth half the time makes me want to vomit, right? But look at the United States, lowest job employment in every possible category you can ask for. Economy's thriving more. And I remember the economy's going to crash. Trump got a lot. So there, you know, is do you want a president that talks perfect or somebody that's doing a lot for the country? Now, we could have opposite views whether you think he's doing a lot for the country or not. You know, that's you can't.
Well, personally, I think when you're the president, like you have to do both.
I agree.
Like, you know, you're going to be judged by your decisions and your actions, and you're also going to be judged because you're representing, you know, a group of people. You know, the class in which you carry yourself, the respect you have for other nations, for our allies, for other things like that. I think that's important, as well as, of course, as you said, the actions you take in terms of how that's going to affect, you know, the farmers, the coal miners, the people that work hard, you know, in the country, as well as, you know, just the school teachers, whatever. Less so. I care less. I really do. I care far less about what a billionaire's tax structure looks like and them bitching about paying 2% more. Like,
fucking
I really
Daniel, man, you fucking are like a total different than you were 3 years ago, and so am I. We both are.
No, that's not true in terms of that. Like,
I know, but what you're saying is so true. It's so true. But one of my problems, and this is a lot. We're going to drop politics right after this. Is my biggest problem with Trump is people, young kids. I remember when I was 7, 8 years old, right? You look up to your president. And Trump doesn't understand that these young kids can't have him saying the things he says because young kids look up to their president. And the biggest letdown for me with Trump is I thought he would be he's not even, he took the PC culture and he just cut it into a zillion pieces. And I do have a problem with that. And I've gone on and said it, you know, it's disgusting. And, unfortunately that's what we have. But let's we're going to drop politics. Let's talk about.
Good call.
This is, fuck me and you. We could talk forever. So what are your goals for this year's World Series of Poker? What are your goals for the future? And also, it's been 6 years since I've won a bracelet in Vegas. I think it's been the same for you. What do you think? Let's make it the fucking summer.
It has definitely been a while.
Make it the summer of Mattisau and Negreanu. That's what I say. Fuck them.
Okay, so this year I'm going to be approaching the World Series differently than I've ever had at the Rio. My schedule, because I love, you know, chasing the Player of the Year. I've won it twice. And it used to be that the schedule that was best suited for that was to play the high buy-in events with smaller fields, like the mixed games, 10K horse, all that kind of stuff. Well, today, the way that the structure is built, you can't really win Player of the Year if you skip the small events. Because when you look at the point structure for, let's say, the Big 50 or whatever, the Colossus, you're going to cash. It's like 8 flights. I mean, everybody's going to cash in that thing at least once. And the problem is your cash in that 500, if you come like 1,215th or something and you get cash, is about the equivalent of coming like 12th in the 10K limit holder.
Really?
Which is way tougher as an accomplishment, right?
Right.
So it's just so there's all these extra little points that add up in the small field events. So for this year, I'm going to be doing something different than I've ever done, and I'm going to be playing next tourney up, which essentially means whatever's next up on the schedule, if it's a $500 buy-in or a 50K, I'm going to jump into that.
That's
with
smart.
Some exceptions.
I can't.
With some exceptions here and there. Obviously, you know, like the 50K Players Championship is going to take priority, you know, and things like that. But overall, my plan is to essentially almost double the number of events I've played in past years. Because, like, people think I play, like, all these numbers. I play, like, 35 events, which is a lot. But
well, it's hard to play more. We've been deep in a lot. Well, last year you had a tough year. But when you're deep in all these tournaments, like last year, I only played 15 events. I was in day 3 of – I cashed 7 times. I think I was at day 3 of 6 of them. You know, it was like – and then I would take – as soon as I get knocked out, I'd take a day off because – you know, with the pain I was in and stuff, I would want to get a little bit of rest. But, you know, I could understand.
I mean, if you look at what's changed with the schedule of the World Series, too, like with Player of the Year, like when Phil Ivey won it in 2002 or when he was like, he had a great year, he had 7 final tables and 3 bracelets. Okay?
He was running back and forth.
He had 7 casters. 7 casters, right? This year, you know, Sean had 20 casters. You know, Chris Ferguson's had 18 casters. With a vast number of events, right? All like Mike Leah, you know, he plays what he does. He's not going to be playing this year. You guys are doing fantasy. Do not draft him.
Yeah, he did. I saw that.
He's got a baby. But yeah, so like really volume is so important in terms of giving yourself the best chance to win Player of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always loved playing the mixed games and preferred playing the mixed game tournaments, but I've left a ton of points on the table that were available to like.
But I heard it's the same exact structure as last year. I read on the Player of the Year.
Well, the point structure is the same, but it has been for like the last couple of years, and it just, it used to be very heavily dominated by big buy-in events in mixed games, and now it's not.
Well,
now
when Ferguson won
so
two years ago, he could just min cash.
Well, but yeah, he definitely was doing that. Like, if you look at his resume, he was basically late regging every tournament, like max late reg.
Hope to win a pot.
You don't have to last that long to cash, and then he would he finished 1295th, he finished 612th, he finished 108th, and had all these little cashes that added up to like a lot of points. And I still prefer a system that favors the high buy-ins, but I'm gonna take the responsibility. If I want to win Player of the Year, what are the rules? Show me how to beat them, and I'll do it. Or just at least I will adjust my playing schedule to try to win that, even though it's playing events that I'd rather be playing like the 10K stud than a $600 double stack no limit hold'em.
Right.
But I'm going to do what I got to do.
Well, the thing is you're fortunate. You don't have to worry about money. You've worked hard. You're set for life, whatever. And so to you, I can understand chasing that. I don't think that it validates anything that you are. You're already, to me,
it's fun.
One of the best.
It's just fun.
Players
it's about
ever.
the fun.
Yeah. I just,
fun.
I can't see there's a 10K going on and you're in a fucking $1,000 and I'm like, where's fucking Daniel? Where or when we're making fun of Phil and you're not around to fucking be there to make fun of him because you're in a $1,000 buy-in on day one or something. I don't know, dude. It's going to be brutal, man.
Well, the good news with the 10Ks this year is you can skip all of day one and reg on day two.
I know.
So that gives you a little bit more time and flexibility to still get in with, a chance to win.
I don't mind at the World Series, but, let's talk about that a little. I think we're both on the same side because I remember you put a tweet out. I say start every tournament at noon. If you ain't in by 12:30, tough shit. You're out, and everybody's going to show up. I think the main event, letting people buy in on day two, is disgraceful. Tournament poker, you want the recreational people to have an equal opportunity to win. I am against re-entries. I really hate late regs. 6 levels, I think late reg at the World Series would be more than enough. And if you miss it because you're in another tournament, well, there's another tournament the next day. But if you look at the 3 PLO, 10K PLOs or the 25K PLO, the 10K PLO, and the other 10K PLO 8, 2 were won by people who regged on day 2, and 2 people that made the 10K PLO also registered on day 2. And if you have a lot of money, I think it's an edge. But if you don't have a lot of money and you're piecing yourself whatever, you want to, you don't want to lose one hand for somebody else's money. So I could never do that. But
okay, well, Mike, let me just correct you on one thing.
Okay,
it's not one thing you said is not true.
Okay,
and that's to say that if you have money, it's an edge. If you don't have money, it's not an edge. Mm-hmm. That's not how it works. Okay. It just doesn't. The bottom line is either plus EV or it's negative EV. Okay. And there's no question that almost every good winning player will have more EV if they start on time than if they start late. So it's not an advantage to late.
So it's just somebody told me that too. They said it was just a freak that happened last year. You're not looking at the big picture. It's not an advantage. And I'm glad you said that because
so here's the thing about late reg, right? Mm-hmm. The bottom line is this: you got to give the people what they want. Okay. Mm-hmm. People want late reg.
Right.
They want it because it shows by the numbers. I remember a couple of years ago there was a 10K PLO or something, and at 3 o'clock when it's supposed to start, there's 30 people there.
Yeah.
Okay.
But doesn't that look bad for a recreational player shows up? Go ahead.
6 hours later, it's got 350 people. Okay, which tells you what? That either A, people don't want to play that deep structure and they don't want to waste their time, or B, they kind of like the shorter days and the shorter nights and whatever, and they're happy to do it. So if the vast majority of your players are late regging, it's because they want to, and they like it, and they prefer it. And it's not simply just pros. I mean, obviously pros are more likely to do that because, they're doing other things, playing other tournaments or whatever like that. But at the World Series of Poker specifically, I think late reg is kind of important in a sense.
I'm not against it at the World Series. I'm just talking about in all the other tournaments around the globe at the same time. I just think.
Well, I'll tell you what I enjoy. I enjoy what Kerry Katz sets up at the Aria with something like the Super High Roller Bowl.
Right.
Super High Roller Bowl, and he does this thing where if you show up on time, you don't pay rake.
I saw
and
that.
If you show up late, if you late reg, then you got to pay like $1K or $2K. Or if you re-enter, you got to pay. So the Super High Roller Bowl is a special and prestigious event, and one of the reasons it is everyone starts at the same exact time. And if you don't, you get anteed off. You get chipped off. Now,
didn't Phil get anteed off like 25% of his stack a year or two ago or something?
Yes, he did, which is kind of nice. He did it in the one drop too, which is just madness.
An idiot, man.
But yeah, so those I do think, and I agreed with I think it was Rob Young who wrote a piece on this, talking about what made an event prestigious, and part of it was like sitting on time. The tournament starts and it starts. There's not people coming in and out and re-entering and all that kind of stuff. Like from a pure prestige perspective and like making the event special, I'm all about freeze out, start on time. Absolutely. Right. Now, here's the issue though, Mike, we got to think about. This is the issue that a lot of poker players, and I can't wait now that I'm, not affiliated with any site, right? Because anytime I say something in the past, people go, "Oh, you're just a shill saying that because."
Yeah, I've heard that a million times.
It's not, and I'll bet I take 1,000 lie detectors to prove that my theories and the thoughts on this are aligned with reality, which is when you run a tournament. Let's say the Bellagio runs a tournament, okay? Mm-hmm. They have overhead. They have dealers. They have staff. They have television production. They have the WPT. They have other tables that are being taken up, which could be used for cash games. They got to make some fucking money on this thing. If they don't make money on this thing, guess what? The thing don't exist. Won't run it if they don't make money. So the problem we face, or whatever you want to call it, is re-entry is here to stay because, say, these venues that can only fit like 300 people or something like that, they really need like 600 or 700 or 800 to be profitable. They're going to allow people to re-enter in those.
I just think there's
I
think one re-entry is fine. If you travel across the country and you get coolered, I think one re-entry is fine. I just don't think it's unlimited re-entry.
Well, I don't. Like, honestly, I really do. I prefer a tournament with no re-entry.
Right.
I really do.
Me too.
I'd rather have no re-entry. Having said that, if you're going to have re-entry and you're deciding to do it, I don't really care if it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, because when you buy in and you know the structure sheet, you know what it is, you can choose if you don't like to play. You don't want to play in these unlimiteds where people go crazy and fire 6, 7 bullets. If you don't think that's worthwhile, then don't play.
Yeah.
There's plenty of tournaments.
I
think all like that. If they were all like that, that would be a problem.
I think of the tournament before I got my injury in 2013 when I went out to Florida. They had the $5 million guaranteed, 5,000 buy-in. I finished 53rd in that event. But Bonomo won it, and he bought in 9 times. Now, there was like 300 satellite winners in that thing. Like, can you imagine? You say, how did he win it? I busted him. Another guy who's satellite winner. How did he win? I busted him. Wouldn't that put a sour taste in your mouth? Oh, I ain't gonna play satellite.
Yeah, and you're right about that, as well as not only that. I mean, the bottom line is re-entry makes tournaments tougher because now you have like a Bonomo or Jason Kuhn or Phil Ivey, and you got to bust them not once, not twice, not 3.
Right.
Sometimes you got to bust them 5 times. That's hard to do.
Right.
So you essentially each and the vast majority of people who are re-entering are professional.
Right,
like I don't think that recreational players they don't re-enter at the same rate as pros do.
Right.
So what that does is the constant creation and the ecosystem of the tournament. It makes it far more. The more of the bullets are pro heavy.
Right,
which,
and we don't want. We want the recreational
average player to cash. Having said that, if you do have a bunch of idiots like me who play the 5 diamond and just fire like a madman and go all in blind. That does help in a lot of ways in the sense of, A, it gives you a free shot to double in some spots. B, when you do cash, you're going to cash for a lot more because they threw a bunch of dead money into the prize pool. Yeah, and that's it, just A and B. I thought they were just C.
But
just A and B.
I just like right now. I think it's so important to bring as many new people, the more money we bring into poker, the better it is. You don't want to make a recreational player that plays his one time a year at the World Series or whatever. You don't want to make. I'm just scared the World Series is going to turn into unlimited rebuys in every tournament.
Well, here's another thing. I'm going to push back again. I'm going to push back again on something important, which we talked about, which is revenue, right? Mm-hmm. So World Series of Poker, they didn't do this until they were forced to, and I'll tell you why they're forced to. Venetian, Wynn, all these other places
losing
around
a lot
town
of the worlds. Yeah, I
are
know.
having these daily $400, $600 buy-ins at low levels with rebuys and reentries, and they're very popular. What that does to the Rio is it takes bodies out of the Rio and sends them other places. Now, instead of allowing them to leave and go other places when you can get that revenue there, you just offer some of the same events that they would go to other places for. Now, people are still going to go play the other events, but they had to compete with what the market was driving to, which is a lot of these re-entry, small buy-in events. So they've just done what they've had to do to keep up. And it really bothers me a lot when people shit on the World Series so much in terms of, this, like, it bothers me because, like, you selfish prick. Like, you know how hard it is to do this? Like, everyone thinks they're making bad billions and billions of dollars. Running that event is not easy. And if they weren't making a lot of money, guess what? They wouldn't exist. And that's my fear, is that
me and Jack Effel talked about it. He goes, Mike, do you know how many bottles of water, how much that costs? Do you know how? And he sat down with me and he explained. And listen, I know what they put on now, how much work it takes is unbelievable. I had Maury Escondani on my podcast like 3 weeks ago, and he says, Mike, we have been in meeting after meeting after meeting since January. And so he was explaining to me, like, the work that goes in to this event. And so I have turned a little bit of an eye towards how you're thinking. I got a little bit upset when...
Well, listen, Mike, listen, this is the thing. All poker players, we run a business.
Right.
Your business is you, right? And it drives me nuts when poker players whose goal isn't it, and their goal is to maximize their own profit, right?
Right.
But then when the company that's running the event tries to do things to increase their profit, screw them, fuck them, they're taking out of my piece. Yeah. So, I mean, listen, if you don't think it's profitable for you and you don't think it's worthwhile as an investment of your time or your money to play in these things, you can't beat it or whatever, then don't play. Right. But don't besmirch capitalism when a company is trying to look at the numbers and say, you know what? The rate right now we're charging is 10%. If we up it to 12% in these things, I think that will increase our revenue across the board so that we can do this by X and Y. We make more money, whatever. Everybody's in that business. Like, it doesn't make sense when, as a pro, you're saying it's fair for me to try to make maximum profit, but not fair for you, the organizer, to do the exact same thing. I don't care if it's Poker Stars, World Series of Poker, anybody. As long as they're transparent and honest about what they're charging, you as a consumer or a player as a pro, you get to decide for yourself, is this worth it to me to play? And if not, you can complain and bitch or whatever, but that's the way the world works.
These were the two biggest problems I have with the World Series. Other than that, I fucking am all in with everything you're saying. My two biggest, when they first ran the Colossus, I think it was 2 years ago, and they took like $1 million rake and $725 for first. There should never be more. Right? It should have been $1 million for first and $725 for rake. I couldn't see raking more than first place, and I had a problem.
Well, let me ask you this. Well, so what? So okay, we can make an extreme example of this.
Okay.
Let's say you're playing against a sucker and you're playing him heads up poker, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and now on the river, he'll call 100K, right? Are you going to bet? He's going to call for 100K. He's going to pay you
right.
Up. Are you going to bet 30 because you feel like, 100's probably too much to take from this poor guy?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to bet 100, and you're going to fucking take this guy's money.
Mm-hmm.
So this Colossus is super popular. Thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people want to pay to play this. It's a vastly successful event. So they're going to look at it and go, listen, we're going to have a good take on this. It's going to be a real good event for us, the company.
Mm-hmm.
And bottom line is, clearly by demand, people want to fucking play it.
Right.
If they didn't, they wouldn't show up. The only way that you can get companies to lower their fees or lower their rake in certain areas is to see those numbers of people drop significantly, right? If people start saying, well, no, we're not going to play them, well, then all of a sudden, now they have to restructure their payouts. But if everyone still shows up, whether it's 10% or 12%, and you don't see a drop-off, then what kind of fool would you be, in a sense, to not look at that as a possible opportunity to increase your revenue? Okay. Like every other poker player does in every single hand that they play when they try to maximize value by betting the right amount.
That's fair. Now, only other problem I have, now this would never affect you because you bring your own food, but let's say you go into the poker kitchen and you want to get something to eat. And even in a 10K buy, whatever, they give you $10 or I think it's 15 last year of food money. But then for a slice of pizza and a Coke, it's $21. And I'm just like, least they could do is pay for your meal. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so that comes back to first of all, like, and I didn't say this before, but it's true. It's like nobody owes you a living as a pro or player, right? Nobody does. So they're going to charge their prices. If you don't like the customer service, you don't like the experience, you don't feel like they're taking good care of you, you take your business elsewhere. You don't play, or you prepare other ways, which is like you said, to bring your own food, to do other things like that. Yeah, I get it. I mean, I totally understand where you're coming from.
It just seems so chintzy. That's all.
It sucks to get a food voucher for $10 when every meal is $22.
Yeah.
Right. But bottom line is, you have to make the decision for yourself. Why do you show up to the World Series of Poker, Mike? You show up to make money, right? Yeah. So overall, when you show up every day, you think that every day you show up, you're profiting, even with paying $22 for that meal. You still think it's a profit. If you didn't, you wouldn't be there.
Listen, it just looks so cheap. Why would you want to come off? Just like the one year where the urinals were out for the entire World Series. It's like, really? You can't get somebody over here to get the bathrooms where you don't have to worry about that problem. But like there was literally like 7 urinals out the entire World Series. And I was like, how could they not get somebody over here to fix it? Or remember the year that you had the thermometer going? It was like 66 degrees in there, and they couldn't adjust the temperature, and it took them 6 weeks to find out that it was being run off a different system. Like, it just doesn't seem too hard to fix. That's all.
Well, I mean, it doesn't seem, but it is, right?
Yeah.
Like, listen, do you think Jack and Ty and all these guys want these headaches? Do you think that they don't care, that they don't hear? So clearly, there's many moving parts when you work in a corporation.
Right.
There are a lot of like moving parts to get from point A to point B. So yeah, everyone knows the toilets are out. They make the phone calls to the people that are supposed to get the toilets. Those people say we can't get there till this date, that date. Players are pissed.
Right.
People are pissed. Like, nobody wants that. Like, nobody wants the room to be freezing.
Right.
Like, they're not happy about it. But listen, it's a huge undertaking to do. They do overall, I think, a pretty damn good job.
They do.
But there's going to be times where shit happens. It's just, shit happens. Things are not going to go so well. That's why a lot of people that are excited about the Rio maybe moving somewhere else, I'm like, be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
Be careful what you wish for.
Where's it going to be? Where you have that kind of access? You don't
know. Like, a lot of people will look back on the Rio and be like, man, I miss it being there. Like, and you know what poker players do? This is what we all do.
Yes.
We complain and bitch.
Yes, we do.
All the time.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you give somebody a free drink and you say, what the fuck? Where's my straw? Right? I mean, it's like, that's poker players. What, you didn't give me a straw? Like, I just gave you a free drink.
And, you made a good point about them, trying to compete with the market. And what they did a couple of years ago, and I guess they're doing this year, is they're having the Kings Club, that big cash game where the higher area buy-ins is. But I wish they would announce it more, because why would people not?
Well, that's an exclusive thing, though. So that whole area, that's what they're trying to do to kind of offer some high-end service.
God,
to,
I wish we had the
players.
cash
I don't go
games.
there, but I know they're offering special food. They're offering a little bit more amenities. They're trying to class up the joint a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
They're always trying to innovate in different ways, and it's just frustrating to me knowing how much work goes into these promotions and these ideas, because I've worked in the industry both as a player and on the other end for a long time, and I get it. Like, poker players, they're focused on me. What's good for me? I'm like, okay, you know what's good for you? What's good for you is if the company that's putting on the thing makes money, if the location makes money. Because guess what? As I've said before, if they don't, you don't make no money either.
Yeah,
because there's no.
No, it's a good point. Me and Matt Savage talked on, I think it was my second podcast, is poker's changed. It was always run the tournaments to get people in to play cash games. Well, now, unfortunately, it's get people in to play tournaments and get a big volume of people. And it sucks that there's, we were talking about ways to get it like it used to be, and where you're playing in the 400, 800, 3,600 mixed game, and the guy just busts out of a 3,000 buy-in tournaments. He plops down 20 grand. He's steaming. He dusts it off in 5 minutes. I mean, that's where we used to make all the money. Even when you were a tournament player.
Well, you did, yeah. You did now, but here's what you got to do now: supply and demand, right? So now, like you said, people are coming in to play the tournament.
Right.
Now, people come in to play a tournament, so when they bust, what do they want to do? They want to play another tournament. So that's why you see a proliferation of side events, deep stack events, small buy-ins and stuff to satisfy those people that they don't want to play cash.
Right.
You know, they want to play tournaments. So if you're a company, you have to adjust and adapt to the market. Whatever's happening, whatever the trends are, you know, if you were a stud player back in the day and you were good at it, stud dried up. You have a choice. You either learn how to play Hold'em or you move on to getting the job. You know, if you're a company and now all of a sudden, you know, nobody wants to play cash games, you got to fill those seats with other things, tournaments, whatever. You got to think big about always being one step ahead. And this is true for poker as a player, and it is for business, whether it's poker or any business. You have to move. Look at Blockbuster, right? Blockbuster was a huge company. Did you ever see the day when they go completely under?
Right.
Well, technology came about, made them obsolete, and now you can't find a Blockbuster anymore.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask some. But if they advertised in the high limit area, right, and they said, all the good deal, we have no bad dealers in this area. It's all our top dealers, and you don't want? Do you want people to bust and go across the street to the Bellagio and play cash or the Aria? Don't you want them in that area? I mean, there's got to be a way to promote that.
So you want to do that. I get it. You want to give these guys, you know, the best of the best, right? Well, so what are they going to bring in on those games that makes it worth it? Are you okay with, if you get these services, which is, you know, food and the best dealers, paying more in fees?
Right. I am.
But you know, that's the question, right? Like some people, and that's the thing, like with a premium product, and I used to say this about PokerStars, right? So when they were raising rake and stuff like that, they were doing it because they could, first and foremost, and also because they have a premium product. Like it is, you know, the software was, you know, for most online players, you know, view, the best, right? So there's, you call it premium. Like when you go to a hotel sometimes, they have regular internet, and you can pay for premium internet, right? Both are internet, but if you want to spend a little extra, you know, if you want better internet, it's like, okay, we got to pay for it. Well, you want better deals, you want better food, you want all that stuff, that money's got to come from somewhere. And it's usually coming out of players' pockets, and they typically don't like doing that.
I like that analysis you made, because when they got rid of net neutrality, I'm like, well, why should they have net neutrality? If they could charge more for a premium internet service, why is there a law that they all have to be the same? You see what I'm saying? I want the cash games back at the World Series, so when people bust, they dump that 20 ball or 30 ball. I mean,
well, like I said, Mike, you know, a lot of stud players from the 70s and 80s, they'll say this. Well, you know what I want? I want players to bust from these tournaments and come and play in these stud games. Times change, okay? There's no market for it anymore. People don't want to do it as much as they used to. So you, as a pro, either have to adjust to that, right? And, you know, do other things or whatever, or, you know.
Well, I just don't want to go. I don't want to go across the street to Bellagio and wait in line for 3 hours to get in the game. That's what I'd rather bust and go into that high element area and get in the game there with a bunch. Because you remember when people bust tournaments, those games were juicy as can be. So, anyways, Daniel, I've got some call-in people that have given some questions. I'm going to play 3 of those for you, and then you can answer them on air, and I'll also read some emails that people sent. So, Danny, play those. Let's play those call-ins.
Hey, here's a question I got for both Mike and Daniel. This is Matt calling from Scranton, Pennsylvania. Do you guys think they'll ever bring back the heads-up poker championship? You know, Mike, this is the one you won a few years back against Phil Hellmuth. It was on NBC, I believe. Because I think they should bring that back. That was really enjoyable and fun to watch. Just one of your thoughts. Thanks, guys.
I heard it's coming back. What'd you hear?
Well, here's the thing, and I'm going to answer this very similar to how I answer a lot of questions is, who's paying for it, okay? Mm-hmm. If we have anybody that has a worthwhile interest, and I think the interest could come if we continue to see, you know, sports betting operations like across the United States want to get more involved and maybe sponsor something like this, because these things are not free to put on, right? They're not. So you got to, like, people say, oh, I want to see this, I want to see that. I'm like, okay, who's paying for it? And who's sponsoring it? And if you don't have an answer to those questions, then it's not going to happen. But, I mean, who knows? Like, with the landscape changing, I think there's a possibility it could come back. It was, you know, relatively popular in the time slot that NBC had it on.
Yeah. Maury told me about a year ago they were working on it, but then I haven't talked to him since then. He said they were real close to bringing it back. So, I don't know. maybe you know more. I don't. You're probably more involved than I am, so you would know more of it. But anyway, let's go to the next question.
Hey, Mike, this is John. This question's for you and Daniel, I guess. So if the Rio is sold, will they continue to do the WSOP, or will it go up for an auction on who runs it, or how would that work? Thank you.
Well, I mean, as far as I know, the World Series of Poker would move, and I've heard of one specific venue that is potentially suitable for it. I mean, they do own the brand. The brand has some value, so I would think that it would be worthwhile for them. I mean, there's always the potential, too, that they would sell it to a potential buyer, but I would think that the World Series will continue to go on and hopefully forever.
Where's the any kind of hint where you thought it might end up?
So there's been discussion and talk about it being, right around where the link is, right behind there.
But is there what hotel would it be? Oh, they would just put a tent up back there, or?
Oh, I'm not sure. Somewhere in that area, which is probably a little more congested for parking and things like that. Which could be
like you said, people watch what you wish for. The way to get into the Rio, it's so easy to get in and out. There's so much space. I just couldn't figure out a place that's owned by Harrah's that can house the WSOP, and I'm real worried it might get moved to Florida, and that would really, really diminish the...
I don't think it'll move from Las Vegas.
Oh, God, I hope you're right. No, I was kind of worried about that. Okay, let's hear the next question.
Hey, Mike. It's Steve from Las Vegas. I love the show. Great guest. Daniel, welcome to the Mouthpiece. Got a couple quick questions here and a comment. Daniel, first off, I'd like to say kudos for letting everybody attempt to buy a piece of you for the World Series, and best of luck in the series. My question is around the way that it happened. Do you feel that, the added stress of the overselling is going to have any effect on your game? And I know that you said that you're going to be making it up to the people that purchased but didn't get to it. Can you give any insight as to what the VIP package might be? And thanks for listening, guys, and look forward to the answers. Daniel, good luck. Mike, even better.
All right, thanks.
Her down, buddy.
Both fair and good questions. First of all, as far as it affecting my play, thankfully for me, I have a team of people that are going to be handling this, and it won't affect me while I'm playing. While I do my vlogging and stuff like that, it's really not that disruptive. I shoot all the stuff on my cell phone. I have people that edit overnight, and they release it on social media for me. And as far as this specific project, I've thought a lot about how I'm going to, because it's about 7,500 people that were affected, that were, that purchased the piece that, ultimately got a refund. So what I'm going to be doing in the future is offer opportunities for them to buy pieces at no markup. That could be in the form of one-offs during the World Series. So let's say, for example, the 50K coming up, I might sell 10% more to those people specifically. They'll have exclusive access to it because I want to make sure that they get action on the money that they wanted to put in. And it'll take me a while to make sure that everybody's gotten a chance to get that piece. But there's big events coming up like Super High Roller Bowl, and then, of course, the World Series of Poker next year. For any people that, didn't get in, they will be first priority. We're going to look to really kind of create sort of like a VIP club of this group that going forward, they're always going to have any sort of exclusive opportunities at the no markup pieces that I give.
Now, I want to hit on something because I didn't tell you about this. So what I did is, of course, nothing on your level, but because I think I told you, because I'm selling a markup in my 10Ks, I gave 10% at all my 1500s at no markup, sold it out in half a second. And I ran a promotion based on my Blockers for Dummies video, and it was a kind of like asking questions. What was on the towel? How big was the dildo? Just all these just crazy questions. And then if I wanted, when they'd call back, I'd fuck with them, make tougher questions. And anyway, this guy, Benjamin, he called in like 8 times, and I kept stumping him or whatever. He finally got it, and he won a 1%. And then he told me, he's been suffering with testicular cancer. And so, I said, well, you know what? I'm going to give you 1% for calling in and sticking to it, and I'm going to give you another 1% to your prostate cancer charity. So this guy, Ben, is very appreciative. He really made my last podcast great. And I'm going to tell you what he just sent us for both of us. He said, I think I'm late, but anyways, figured I'd shoot something to you guys for the Daniel Mike special. First off, I'm so glad you guys are doing this. The fans demand it. I don't really have a question. Just think you both got more in common that maybe you give each other credit for. Both stand-up guys. Met both of you as a fan over multiple occasions for the years and been treated with great respect and gratitude each time. Also, both have love for a game that is unparalleled. Mike leaves his heart on the table and wears it on his sleeve, and Daniel has done more for the game than most. He really cares about the future of poker and what's best for the game, which I really respect. Long story short, both great men, great ambassadors, Hall of Famers of the game that can be proud of their accomplishments on and off the felt. Also, great friends to people who know them and to those who admire the world abroad. Many more similarities, I'm sure. I'm closing. Having this discussion can hopefully bring people together and are having those same difficulties within their own circles and friends and family that maybe relate to the issues you both have experienced. Everyone is entitled to an opinion, and at the end of the day, it's our differences that make us great. And showing love and having respect for each other is what is most important. Much respect to both of you, no matter what the topics are that come up. I'll be surely one for the ages. Love you both. Have a great night, Ben. That was a great.
Well, that sure sounds like a good note to end on.
It sure the heck does. It really, really does. So, hey, Daniel, this has been a fucking amazing interview. My love for you is always been the same. I'm so glad that this interview took place, not just for me and you, but for the poker world. We don't need to be uncomfortable anymore. We could fuck with each other. I could fucking come in your trailer. You could kick me the fuck out like you always do.
Well, don't be coming in my trailer.
Oh yeah, now that you're married, I can't. You might.
Listen, I go to the trailer for peace and quiet. How do you think Mike Matusow contributes to peace and quiet in the trailer? That's a no-no.
Oh, that's amazing, man. I love you, bro. Thanks for coming on the Mouthpiece. Much luck at the World Series this year. Me and you are taking home the gold. You can mark it down.
Let's do it, man. It was a pleasure.
I love you, man. Take care. I'll see you soon.
You, bro.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right, man. Take care. Bye.
The Mouthpiece.
Well, everybody, I hope you enjoyed part 1 and part 2 of my great interview with my good friend, Daniel Negreanu. I'm so glad to call him my good friend again. It's been a tough 3 years, and we've finally put everything behind us. And I hope you really enjoyed this interview. And I wish all of you a great World Series of Poker. This is Mike the Mouth for the Mouthpiece, signing out. Talk to you live at the World Series of Poker starting Thursday.